Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Red Light Sports Ramble, presented by the Red Light Sports Network. I am Troy Otronovic, back from a one-day hiatus due to some work concerns, joined with my co-host, as always, the magnificent Evan Watalis out in Wisconsin. Evan, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. Glad to have you back with me today. You know, it's a difference doing the show on my own, but I'm glad to have you back.
Well, I listened to it. I had to upload it, and I had to get it on YouTube, and you did great. But I'll tell you what, when I was listening,
thank you. And I'm very shocked you're able to join me today, though. I figured you'd be heartbroken over the tragic Packer news today.
You know, I saw this. Well, you tweeted out, so I had tweeted out, "Oh no, say it ain't so." But Mr. Marshall Newhouse has now signed with Cincinnati, and that is very heartbreaking to me because you know that he was the one person on the Packers' offensive line that I talked about all the time. So I don't know if I can do the show again. I really thought I was going to have to text him and say, look, Marshall Newhouse is now a Bengal and not a Packer. I don't know if I can do the show today. But I'm here.
I was worried you might not be able to join me. I'm glad you are, though.
Well, I was going to go back before you got into that. You know, I was listening to the show this morning, and I was so pissed off. And not because of the show, but when I'm sitting there and listening to you talk, I'm just like, I was talking to myself as I was listening like we were doing the show. Because there are so many things that I wanted to add that would have been great. But, again, went solo yesterday, great show. Listen to it today. It's uploaded. It's great job. But we have some other breaking news from the world of basketball in Wisconsin, and I'll let you fill the listeners into what that news is.
Yeah, this is just hitting the headlines now. ESPN updated the story as of 5:50 p.m. Eastern Time, so this would be just 10 minutes ago, that Buzz Williams, head basketball coach at Marquette, is leaving to sign a 7-year deal to become the new head coach of the Virginia Tech Hokies. Multiple sources are telling ESPN.com. There's an article on their website by Jeff Goodman, and this is quite shocking, and it can almost be devastating to Marquette. You know, they have a new conference that they're in now. They have no school president. They have no athletic director. You know, both positions are being filled in the in the interim process right now, and now they have no men's basketball coach. And Marquette is not. Obviously they don't have football, so men's basketball is that university's big moneymaker in the athletic department. So him leaving, that can be almost devastating to Marquette. And Buzz Williams, while Marquette has a 139-65 record in his sixth season, and this year is the only season he did not make the NCAA tournament. So, take a quick look at who Marquette might sign is going to determine where they go from there. But some early names being thrown out right now is UW Green Bay coach Brian Wardle, who played for Marquette back in the 90s, and also Ben Howland, former UCLA coach and former Pitt's coach before going to UCLA, apparently wants the job as well. So this is definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, it's devastating news for Marquette fans that Buzz Williams has decided to leave. But when you look at all of the, and I'll call it disarray in the athletic department, this was a decision he made. And to leave a program like a Marquette, there has to be something going on to support maybe no organization in the athletic department. Because like you said, Marquette basketball rules that university. So when you're the head basketball coach at Marquette, you're the man. And yes, they had a down year. But like you said, his overall success and the things he did for that program are just amazing. And so for him to get up and take a job at Virginia Tech, in my mind, which is a downgrade. I know they've had some decent basketball seasons, but when I look at the Virginia Tech program and compare it to Marquette, if I'm a coach, I would much rather have the Marquette job based on history, the tradition, and back to the one point you said, you are not competing with football when it comes to boosters. And they have some very successful alumni. And so that is shocking news that Buzz Williams has decided to leave the program. And who knows who will go there. I'm going to go back to a conversation we had with Kevin Cunningham. And I'm going to throw this out to you and see what you think. I know you just threw out two big names that have Division I coaching experience. Howland, what do you think about Miller from UW-Whitewater?
Personally, I think, my personal opinion, I think it would be a decent hire by Marquette, but I don't think Marquette would even look that direction. I don't think they're even going to sniff Division III because that's not something Marquette, and I root for Marquette when they're not playing Wisconsin. So for those listeners thinking I'm bashing Marquette, I'm not. But for those, for Marquette, they're too prestigious to go down to Division III to hire a coach. Marquette's looking for Division I coach. That's who they're going to look at. The one Division I coach they're not going to look at would be Rob Jeter, UW Milwaukee, because Marquette I don't think would ever hire a coach with UW Milwaukee ties to be their head coach. But personal opinion, I think would be a good hire. But I just don't see Marquette doing it because I don't think it helps in their eyes. If I'm Marquette, I don't think it helps the program right now, especially when you have some really strong recruiting classes coming in, and you're trying to get the number one player in the state, who's just a junior in Diamond Stone, to sign with you. And I don't know if bringing up a Division III coach is going to get Buzz Williams Diamond Stone to head to Marquette. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, like I said, I was just throwing that out there because we had just talked to Kevin Cunningham, so I wanted to see what your thoughts were on that. I mean, I don't see that happening either. That is a huge jump from D3 to Marquette because I call that major Division I basketball. The next step logically for a D3 coach is a program like a UW Milwaukee, a UW Green Bay, something of that nature. But, I just wanted to throw it out there because of the success and because Whitewater's playing this weekend as we had the preview going on. So there's a lot of stuff going on in basketball. But let's turn our attention now to, of course, the wonderful March Madness. We did our bracket, and to be honest, Evan, the bracket that we filled out for the Red Light Sports Network looks like crap. It looks like crap.
It might look like even crap later because Kansas is in a battle with Eastern Kentucky right now.
Well, we'll get to that one because by the time we're near the end of the show, that game should be deep into the second half, and definitely want to talk about that. Let's just start right from the top. The biggest upset of the day, and I got to tell you a story as we go through this, but the wonderful Duke fans, the wonderful Dukies, the following they have, the wonderful fans are all in a corner sucking their thumb and crying right now. And why is that, Evan?
Yeah, because Duke had to lose to Mercer today. That's the upset of the tournament so far. Duke losing to Mercer. I am quite surprised at the outcome. I was expecting Duke to have a pretty easy path to the Sweet 16. But I was thinking they're going to lose to I think they're going to beat Michigan in the Sweet 16, but they're at a pretty easy path to the Sweet 16, and they wet the bed today.
Oh, they did a little bit more than that today, bud. They went out there, and Mercer, you got to give them credit. Mercer went out there and played one heck of a game against them. And if you remember, as we were filling our brackets out, I had told you, and I had actually told the listeners, always pick against me when you're looking at my bracket when it comes to Duke and Syracuse.
Might be
They're
more
still in
people
my
with perfect records if they did.
Well, they would, because I had picked Duke to the Elite Eight. I picked them to the Elite Eight, and what happened? They lost. Now, if you're a Syracuse fan, you should be jumping up and down for joy right now, because I had to lose in the second round to Ohio State, which means that Syracuse will probably advance to the Elite Eight, because I picked them to lose in the second round. Those two teams always do the exact opposite of what I put in my bracket. So it is nothing, and if Duke fans want to blame me, go ahead, blame me. Blame Troy for their dismal experience today against Mercer, because I am the one that did it. I am the one that picked them to win and go to the Elite Eight, so they ended up losing. And I feel really bad for my old college roommate who is a Duke fan. He just loves Duke up and down, and all he ever does is talk Duke, Duke, Duke. I had to deal with the Christian Leitner shot back in college, so I'm aging myself. But he is probably at the bar soaking his worries also. But that is just a huge loss. What do you think it does for that program, Evan, to lose in the first round as a number 3 seed to a 14-seeded team in Mercer?
I don't think it does much at all. Coach K's legacy's already been built. Other than, Jabari Parker, in my opinion, this wasn't really that great of a Duke team. They finished the year 26-9, 13-5 in the ACC. I'd have considered this Duke team a great team. I thought they were overrated. And you saw what would happen when they played a team like Virginia. When you force them to play a slow-down half-court offense, Duke's going to struggle. And when you're depending on a true freshman, as good as Jabari Parker is, when you're depending on a true freshman to lead you, Jabari Parker's only a freshman. And I'm trying to pull up his stats for today, but, my internet, which I didn't tell you, I ended up getting in the studio with 20 seconds to spare yesterday thanks to my internet. But I'm trying to pull up Jabari Parker's stats, and Jabari Parker, in 28 minutes, shot 4 of 14, 0 for 3 from the three-point line, had 7 rebounds, 4 turnovers, 4 fouls, and scored just 14 points. They had 20 points from Rashid Suleiman, and they had 23 points from Quinn Cook. But Jabari Parker, who played just 28 minutes, he's supposed to be your leader. He's your superstar. And he just didn't have a good game today. And when you rely on a true freshman to be the leader of your team, you're going to have slip-ups like this. And, Jabari Parker more than likely won't be at Duke next year. But you already know Coach K, he's going to have a heck of a recruiting class coming in, a nice group of upperclassmen there as well. And they're going to be right back to the NCAA tournament next year. And it's going to happen. So,
yeah, well, I don't think you're going to see Parker at Duke next year. We all know that he's actually could be the number one overall pick in the NBA draft. And so he just happened to have a bad game at the wrong time. But again, I'm going to give Mercer credit. They went out. Those teams, when they're seated like that, have nothing to lose. So, they went out, played a great game, and what's the update now on the Kansas score right now, Bud? Because I know they were in a nail biter.
It's 50-49, Eastern Kentucky, early in the first half. About halfway through the second half, 10:55 left in the second half. And I was talking about Jabari Parker and struggling a little bit with Duke as a true freshman. The opposite's happening for Kansas. Andrew Wiggins, who could be the number 1 pick in the draft as well, has 14 points on 5 for 10 shooting and just 2 turnovers, 2 fouls, and he's got 4 rebounds. Outside of Parker and Perry Ellis, who also has 14 points for Kansas, there's not a lot of help going around there. Tariq Black has 8 points on 4 for 4 shooting. And their other guard, Tharp, has 4 points. So, outside of Wiggins, Ellis, and Black, there's really no one else for Kansas picking up the slack. And when you look at Eastern Kentucky, They have 3 guys in double figures right now for scoring. And still 50-49. But yeah, they got 3 guys in double figures. They have guy with 13 points, guy with 12 points, guy with 14 points. So Kansas isn't getting a lot of help outside of Wiggins, and Eastern Kentucky, which could come back to hurt them, is getting little help from their bench. So that's definitely a game to keep an eye on. Is Andrew Wiggins going to take over the game and lead Kansas to victory? But Eastern Kentucky is not going away.
No, they're not going away, and that's the thing you find in these NCAA tournament games. You let that team stick with you, and you never know what will happen. And I think as the game stays close, and I'll throw out the upsets from last night. North Dakota State pulling the upset, and yesterday in an earlier game, Harvard pulling the upset. On paper, there's no way Oklahoma should lose to North Dakota State. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, they probably won't. But when you let
Kansas now has a 1-point lead.
They're hanging around, and it might fall to what I'm saying. And the same thing with Mercer today. You let the team stay there with confidence. All of a sudden, they go out and they're like, hey, why can't we beat this team? And now all of a sudden, it's not a, and I'll say a mid-major D1 program against a powerhouse D1 team. It is now just 2 basketball teams playing, and if you get one bad bounce, one bad call, a missed shot, an offensive rebound, a hustle rebound, all of a sudden the tide can turn. And that's what we saw last night with North Dakota State. They just hung in there. They out-hustled. They out-rebounded. It wasn't by much. I looked at the stats this morning when I was doing the article for your daily Cowboys football picks. The rebounds were 34-33, but in favor of North Dakota State. But in your opinion, Evan, should North Dakota State even out-rebounded an Oklahoma team?
No, shouldn't have.
And again, I'm not taking anything away from North Dakota State. They deserve all the props, and they very well may be the Cinderella, but I don't know, Mercer might be the next one. Not sure how they're going to flip. The thing is, they're going to play a Tennessee team now. And so Mercer, a 14 seed, could actually sneak into the Sweet 16. You and I both picked the winner in UMass. We thought that was going to happen. That's right in our bracket. And so now you've got a Tennessee team against a Mercer team. That should be an interesting game. You're going to have another double-digit team in the Sweet 16. Again, there's always a team that does it. And the reason is these teams really go out and play with nothing to lose. They go out and hustle. They rebound. They play to the best of their ability. And to be honest, it's like there's no pressure on them. So it is just wonderful watching the NCAA tournament. And Stanford, I know it was only a 10 seed over a 7, but Stanford went out, and I didn't think the game, it looked like Stanford, I didn't get to watch a lot of the game, but I was watching the score, and it looked like they took care of New Mexico pretty easily. Yeah. What is your thought on that game?
Didn't I say during our bracket breakdown that Stanford is going to get that win?
Yeah, we have that one. I have them too. We actually agreed on that.
Oh, we did? Okay.
Yeah, we agreed
Here I'm
on
trying
that.
To brag a little bit. and you're taking that thunder away from me. I see how it is. So before I comment on that, just to give our listeners a quick update, as of 3 minutes ago, Whitewater is trailing 14-9 with 11:49 left in the first half. And if you want Whitewater men's or women's updates, follow Royal Purple Sports at RI_sports. Give them a follow, and you can follow along with Whitewater as they're trying to make the national championship game in both men and women's basketball. So hopefully Whitewater can come back and get that victory over the Titans, who they're playing. So
yeah, well, we talked about that. We talked about that with Kevin on Wednesday, and this is a tough Iowa Wesleyan team. A lot of height. So at 14-9, not being able to watch the game, which sucks. I'm still at work, but we talked about it with Kevin. I know we're now switching over to D3 hoops, but that size that Iowa Wesleyan has, I don't think Whitewater's really faced that all year. I had asked Kevin the question if they could compare it to anything earlier in the season. His answer was no. So hopefully the right adjustments can be made, because right now at 14-9, it's going to be a close game. I know it's only 5 points, but I'm just imagining that the inside presence, or it's Illinois Wesleyan, Illinois Wesleyan could be a difference right now. Again, I'm not watching the game, so I'm just speculating. But that was one question, if you remember, I asked Kevin. How will they combat that if they're going to have to go with the bigs? Who's going to go in and play? And at 14-9, it looks like they don't have an answer for the big men, and it doesn't look like their outside shooting is dropping down like it normally does. So, go Hawks.
Well, it's still early in the game. Yeah, it's still, as of 5 minutes ago, so obviously there's less time now. But this is just 11:49 left in the first half. Now, back to what you're asking about Stanford and New Mexico, I didn't get a chance to watch the game either. But to me, it looked like, from following along online, it looked like Stanford was in pretty much in control of the game the entire way. They went into that locker room at halftime up 32-27, and then they ended up tying in the second half 26-26. But Stanford just looked like they were in control of that game, and although it looked close for most of the game, but Stanford just did what they had to do. And you had brought up Tennessee, and I'll just bring up Tennessee and UMass. Another 11-6 game that Tennessee just killed UMass, and that's a game that I thought UMass was going to win. One of my brackets I do for 1250 WSSP, I did change it to Tennessee today. I had a last-second change of heart, so I did pick Tennessee today in that. But, UMass just got killed in the first half, 41-22. And, they made a game of it in the second half. They ended up tying in the second half, 45-45. UMass played better in the second half. But, that's a game Tennessee had complete control of the entire game. And Creighton had a bit of a scare. They ended up winning by 10, but Louisiana Lafayette just wouldn't go away that entire game, it seemed like. McDormand did put up 30, but Louisiana Lafayette did not want to go away, and they made Creighton get victory much harder than it needed to be for Creighton.
Oh, especially in a first-round game. And there's another one of those 3-4 teams that let them hang around. It was only a 6-point game at halftime. And Lafayette hung in there with them, and I thought for a moment that there goes another one of my brackets, because I have Creighton going. And in one of my brackets, I have them going to the Elite Eight. And I'm telling you, this tournament, in my opinion, Evan, right now is wide open. I'm watching the first day, and I'm watching a little bit, trying to get as much as I can, in at work with the scores. But I'm telling you what, this thing is wide open. And that Eastern Kentucky game, it is now a 5-point lead. I am back in my office, by the way. A 5-point lead is what I'm seeing with 7:35 to go. At least that's the last update I have. So, it's one of those. Here. Kansas goes down, I have them going to the Elite Eight also. So, I mean, there's a lot of tough games. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I was saying, if Weber State would have had a better first half against Arizona, I think that game could have been much different. Because Weber State went in the locker room trailing 32-20. Weber State scored 39 second-half points. They ended up losing by 9 to number 1 seed Arizona. If Weber State, played a better first half, I think we possibly could have had a 16 upsetting a 1.
Yeah, I mean, they got off to that slow start the second half. They slowly whittled the lead away, but they just came out, and Arizona, just used their brute power and strength to take a 32-20 lead in the halftime, and that's a tough lead to overcome against anyone, 12 points. But they played a great second half, outscoring them 39-36. So, there's some more great games on tap tonight, bud. And the way that things are going, everybody's joking about this Cal Poly team, but you know what? The way things are shaping out, I'm going to be interested to watch that game. Wouldn't that be something if Cal Poly would come in and be able to beat Wichita State? I know nobody's giving Cal Poly the time of day at 14-19. But I'll tell you what, there's some stuff going on in this tournament that I would not be surprised if they make that a game. And if Wichita State lets them hang in there like Duke did with Mercer, we may possibly see those upsets. I don't know. You know, it's just amazing the things that are going on in this tournament. I mean, this is as exciting tournament as I've seen in a couple of years. So I'm loving it.
Yeah, one matchup.
I'm loving it.
Well, one matchup that I'm really interested in seeing tonight is the 12-5 SF Austin and VCU. We saw it twice yesterday. A 12 upsetting a 5 with North Dakota State, and then there's another 12-5 upset yesterday too, wasn't there?
Yeah, Harvard beat Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, Harvard beating Cincinnati. See, I don't consider that an upset per se because I didn't think Cincinnati was that good, so that's why I couldn't remember that. But I think that VCU at Boston game could be very interesting. That's on True TV tonight at about 6:27.
Yeah, I put it in the article on Your Daily Cowboys Football Fix today about the 5-12. Yeah. You know, every year there's a 12 that beat the 5. This year on the first day, both 12s won. And will it happen today again?
Win, though. One of the 5s that was lost.
St. Louis
was lost.
St. Louis should have lost. I don't know how NC State loses that 16-point lead. You know, they had that game in control. And again, I had picked that. I had picked that the NC State Xavier winner would beat St. Louis. You know, and I picked, again, over UMass because I just saw those games were so good. So we had 2 of the 3 5s lose. And tonight, you know, nobody's really giving SF Austin much of a chance against VCU. But again, it's tournament time. Anything can happen. And so I know we're running low on time. We're getting close to the end of the show, but let's talk about...
just under 3 minutes left. Oh, before we switch, the game is now tied at 18 with 7:48 to go in the first half in Whitewater.
Oh, that's cool. So their shooting has come around. And as you update Whitewater, let's get an update on the Kansas game. Is now 64-57 Kansas with 5:46 left. Let's wrap the show up tonight, Evan. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, you see why they're starting to pull away is Wiggins is now up to 17 points. He's starting to take control of that game. I tell you, I'll take him over Jabari Parker any day of the week.
Yeah, he should take that. I think Wiggins is an all-around player. I think he's ready to play. But let's finish the show up today, Evan, with kind of a recap of how the Big Ten is showing here. I picked Nebraska, and I do 3 brackets. And I picked Nebraska in every one. And they pooed the bed today. I had a chance to watch a little of it, and it didn't even look like they ever had a chance of doing anything in this game against Baylor. And again, I never take anything away from the winner. But Nebraska did not even play a game today. They were down 29-16 at halftime. That is not the same Nebraska team that beat Wisconsin just a week ago.
Yeah, well, Nebraska struggles on the road. And if for my 1250 bracket, where you can go round by round, and you can go 1250.com, sign up today, and you can start fresh on the weekend. And if you win the weekend, you score the most points, you get a gift card to Quaker Steak and Lube. I signed up for that, and I had Baylor winning, and that I think was the only bracket I had Baylor beating Nebraska in. But Nebraska was another one of those games that they got off to a slow start, and they couldn't recover. They scored 44 second half points, but they only scored 16 first half, and they gave up 45 second half points. So, but yeah, Big Ten, the big Big Ten schools look pretty good. But your Iowa and your Nebraska did not, it hurt, those 2 teams losing.
Yeah, well, and actually Ohio State.
Ohio State. I can't stand Ohio State, so.
Well, and again, I picked them in the bracket that actually means something. And not that they don't all mean something, but I'm looking at the one that actually means something to me, and I had them in the Sweet 16. I had them beating Syracuse. The one I just told the Syracuse fans, you should be happy with me. Your team's probably going to go to the Elite Eight. What is your thought on this, Evan? And as we wrap tonight's show up, with the Big Ten, and I'll call middle-of-the-pack schools, the Ohio States, the Iowas, the Nebraskas, losing early, do you think the selection committee looks at that when you have those bubble teams, saying, you know what, they play a hard schedule, they play in a good conference, but those middle-tier teams do not fare well in the big dance, so if they're on the bubble, we're going to leave them outside the bubble. Do you think that that's what the selection committee thinks about maybe in the past or going into the future based on these poor performances by what I call the mid-tier teams in the Big Ten right now?
No, I don't think they look at that at all. The Big Ten Conference overall is a very deep conference. I don't think they look at that at all. The Big Ten, the reason why the Big Ten gets so many teams in the conference, in the tournament every year, same reason why they do in the ACC does. Those are two extremely tough conferences to play in. So, like, we're off, just so you know, we're now off the live view. So, but yeah, I don't think it changes anything in the future either, because Nebraska's a team on the rise, Iowa's a team on the rise, Ohio State's Ohio State, and Wisconsin's going to be very loaded next year with only losing Ben Bruss and the 18th guy on the bench, pretty much, because all the guys are losing, and Evan Anderson never sees the court at all. So I think he's like the 18th guy on the court. I think the water boy, the towel boy, and the kids that wipe up the sweat off the floor, I think they see the action before Evan Anderson does. But, with that said, if you want to close the show.
Yeah, I'm just going to say another great day of basketball. Some more exciting games going on tonight. Tomorrow, of course, is our Saturday episode. The Red Light Sports Network will present the Red Light Rant. Evan and I will get together with you tomorrow. We're not going to let our topic out on Friday evening. You guys are going to have to tune in to listen. But Saturdays are always good, Evan. Those are the days that we just let loose. We just let loose and we give our opinion a little bit more openly than we do during the week. But my one-day hiatus is over. I'm glad I got back. This makes my day. By not being on the show yesterday, it really affected my whole evening because I missed the Red Light Sports Ramble when I don't do it. But with that said, everyone, hope you had a great day. Enjoy NCAA basketball. We will get back at you tomorrow. We'll see you at the next Red Light. Have a good evening, everyone.